Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Readiness Method course. So in the last episode we talked about the inner garden and how old habits, beliefs and patterns can grow on their own when no one's paying attention. We're going to talk about what it means to go from autopilot to manual control. For us, normally, most of life runs on autopilot, and that's totally fine, it's totally normal, and it's completely necessary. Routines, default reactions, ways of doing things that don't require much thought. It's efficient, it saves energy, and for a lot of situations, it's completely fine, and there's no need to villainize that or fight or conflict with it. Often it's very necessary, but there are moments when autopilot can stop working so well for us. Stress builds, you feel off track, old habits repeat, even when they're not helping you or making your life better. Now, these moments matter because that's where manual control is an important skill to have, and we need to know that manual control is possible. Not through force, but through noticing. The gardener is simply part of you that can pause, bring about calmness and say, oh, this is happening again. And that pause is everything. If you can notice a pattern while it's happening, you're no longer inside it, and that gives you options. Safety comes first. So there's one thing to be very clear about, and be sure to read the disclaimer in the book as well. But becoming a gardener does not mean tearing your life apart. You're not subscribing to a new truth claim, to a new project. Your garden has been growing for many years. Some things are very deeply rooted, and in fact, they're holding everything together. So remember that stability always comes first. Being kind to yourself is always the most important thing. And that's why calmness and non-reactivity is the first skill that we cultivate. If you start yanking things out impulsively, it's like grabbing the controls of an airplane without really knowing how to fly it. It's simply a bad and destabilizing idea. So the gardener always works differently. They make small adjustments. They create small experiments. They target specific areas. And they keep watching what happens as they do their work. They keep what supports them. They trim what blocks light and prevents growth. And they don't interfere more than is necessary. So let's look at a simple lived example. Imagine that there's someone who values order and who values structure. And that order helps them work well. It helps them manage their money. It helps them keep their daily life functioning. So that should all stay. But when we have the same need for order in relationships, that same skill could create tension. Conversations feel controlled. Other people feel boxed in. Tension appears. And the gardener simply notices this. Not to judge it. Not to fix themselves, just to say, order happens here, but order's not possible there. So instead of removing order altogether, they prune it back, they adjust it. They feel less need to add structure to conversations. They feel more able to introduce flexibility with other people. Work stays organized, but relationships get a bit more breathing space. And that is being an effective inner gardener. Automatic self and the gardener. So it does help to notice the difference between the two modes. The automatic self runs on habit. It reacts quickly, and that way it's efficient and it's protective. But the gardener can step back. They can see a pattern in action. They can pause, even if it's just for half a second. They can choose a slightly different response. You don't get rid of the automatic self, you simply supervise it. Now it's true that for many people, they never need to do more than autopilot. But if you're listening to this, you've probably felt some sort of friction, some fatigue, some sense that the autopilot is no longer enough. And that's where the gardener comes in. Observation is the first tool. So before any change, there is observation. Not analysis, not self-improvement, just self-observation with calmness. Noticing very softly and gently, how does your energy drain? What feels heavy to maintain? And what actions and thoughts that you take quietly support you? Now, observation may sound passive, but it actually isn't. It's precise. You notice, this habit is costing me energy and it's not benefiting me. This routine steadies me. This ritual is beneficial. This belief tightens my body. This belief helps me release tension. All of these can be done without judgment being necessary. You're just mapping out the garden. And this is where readiness actually begins, not with action, but just with clear seeing. So as you can see, it all begins with noticing. Small, intentional change. So the gardener doesn't act out of urgency. They're not in a rush to make changes. Perhaps you make one small adjustment and then you watch. Over time, you practice the skills, you introduce more calmness, and then you discover that something shifts. Certain habits don't feel as urgent. They feel less compulsive. Energy leaks slow down. Your sense of agency grows. Not dramatically, not evenly, quietly, and that's important. Because real change often feels almost underwhelming. Sometimes it feels too slow. But understand, patience, consistency, it all accumulates. So now let's bring this episode to a close. For now, this is the practice. Notice patterns. Notice where energy goes. Notice what feels obligatory and what feels alive. Make small adjustments only if you're convinced that it's safe and stabilizing to do so. Then observe again. You'll come back to this process again and again, and you'll update your ideas about what's beneficial and what's not beneficial again and again. It's like tending a real garden. You'll try spreading this fertilizer. You'll try holding back the sun here. You'll try putting up a shade cloth there. You'll try watering more. Sometimes it won't work, and sometimes it will. Remember that there's nothing here that is to perfect. It's an ongoing process. There's nothing to finish. It's just ongoing care and tending. And that's what it means to become the gardener. So I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.